from the value of a, which is the coefficient of x squared, because it is negative, we must know that shape gives us this. Okay? So these are things that we immediately must be aware of whenever we're given an equation of a curve. Then other things that are important about a curve is that, or a quadratic curve, is that it must be symmetrical. Okay? There is this line of symmetry over here that passes through the turning point, be it the minimum point or the maximum point. Okay, so this is what we call the turning point because it turns over here. Okay, so this is what we call the minimum point and this is what we call the maximum point. So there's a line of symmetry that passes through it. Okay, so our quadratic curves are always symmetrical. Then in our last lesson, okay, we were looking at finding out, okay, given a sketch over here, how do I determine the coordinates of A and what is the value of A and H? So it depends on whether is it lying on the x-axis or on the y-axis. When it is on the y-axis, our x is equals to 0. When it is on the x-axis, our y is equals to 0. Okay, meaning say your y coordinate is equals to 0 and for this your x coordinate is equals to 0. Because of the way we read, okay, on the x-axis and the y-axis. So all these are things that we covered, okay, in our last lesson. Today what we're going to focus on instead is about drawing of graphs. Okay? So if you turn to page 2 of your worksheet, looking at example 2. Okay, this is where I need you to take out a piece of graph paper. Do I need to eat this? Tell you all that today is Monday. So, here, right? Okay, let's understand the question first. First of all, it says that you want to find another teacher? Okay. Right. So, okay, it says answer the whole question of this question on a piece of graph paper. The variables x and y are connected by the equation y equals to 10 minus x minus x squared. I really need everybody's attention on me rather than anybody else. Because if you don't know how to draw this kind of graph, you will immediately lose 10 marks forever. Okay, for any exam question. Because any graph drawing question, it can be easily 10 marks. Alright? So if you continue to take for granted that graph drawing is very easily done, okay, and you will be able to solve it in the future, no. It is a skill to be acquired. Okay? Put down your curve ruler but not touch your curve ruler. Alright? So, they say the variables x and y are connected by this equation here. Some corresponding values of x and y are given in the table. Okay? So how do we understand this table? They are in pairs. So when x is equals to negative 4, and if I were to take this negative 4 and put it inside this equation, the y value that I will achieve will be negative 2. Okay, so it is a pair that we taken in this manner, for which you should have been familiar because this is what we did last year when we were drawing line graphs. Okay, so the first part, part A, to calculate the value of A. How do we do that? Okay, listen first, no need to copy. Alright, to find the value of A, we see that A is found here, x is equals to 3. Okay, so we find that y, when I use the equation, 10 minus 3 minus 3 squared, okay, that will actually give us a value of, try to answer, that will give me a value of negative 2. So therefore your A is equals to negative 2. Now where do I want you to write this answer? I want you to write it at the back of your graph paper. Okay? Right at the back of your graph paper, part A, this is the answer. Okay? So when I give the scale itself. So I want to repeat this and reinforce it. Okay, it says here, taking 2 cm represent 1 unit on the x-axis and 1 cm represent 1 unit on the y-axis. We want to draw this graph. Okay, every time when we draw our graph, the first thing we must settle is the axis. Okay, then second thing it is your plotted points. And then lastly, then you can draw the curve. You cannot be going in a different sequence from this. You cannot draw a curve without the axis and the plotted points. Okay, it must be in this sequence. Axis first, then plotted points, then the curve. Okay, and this is how you are being marked as well. Okay, 1 mark for each component. Right? So the axis is told to be 2 cm. Okay, representing 1 unit. I'm just writing it here because they thought of changing it to the graph paper. Okay, so this is your x-axis. And then for your y-axis, the scale is 1 cm, representing 1 unit. Okay, so I'm just putting it there first. Okay, now looking at this table, we find that our x values is given to be from -4 to 3, which is the range that the question wants you to draw as well, from -4 to 3. Okay, so based on this range, we can decide how to actually have our axis in place. So let me zoom out. Okay, so I have this graph paper here. Right? I hope that all of you have a long ruler. If you don't have a long ruler, I do have some spare ones here. You can borrow one yourself. Question says that your x-axis, 2 cm represent 1 unit. 2 cm means 1 big square. Okay, 1 big square over here. You needed to draw from -4 to 3. Okay, I cannot have my -4 starting at the border. We don't do that. You start inside and we start from the thick line first. Oops. Hold it down. Okay, we start from the thick line inside. So if I were to choose this to be -4, 2 cm represent 1 unit, you count backwards. -4, then -3, -2, -1, 0 needs to be here, for which then 1, 2, and 3. We have enough space to have our -4 to 3, so 0 is being here. This is where you indicate your y-axis. Okay, because the 0 is here. Okay? So you cannot randomly go and whack in your x-axis and y-axis without planning. So -4, -3, -2, -1, 0 is here. So I'll draw in my y-axis. Right? So do your own counting. Do not attempt to follow exactly. If your thinking is just to copy exactly what I've done, okay, exam, you will not be able to do it. Okay, make sure you know how I counted, how I achieved this y-axis. It's not about copying. Because here, I don't know why I have my eyes wandering all over the place throughout the entire lesson. Okay, you better place a focus on the correct things. Okay, then next, how about my x-axis? How do I know where to place on the graph paper? Firstly, our y-axis scale is 1 cm representing 1 unit. I must look at my table of values here to see that what is the highest number and what is the lowest number. Okay, what's the maximum value, highest value, and what's the least value. Okay, the largest value that we have is 10. only 1, 4, since the maximum is 3. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. Right? So this should be how we set up our axis. Can you please pause and listen to me first? Okay, so do things, two things at a time. Right? Next thing I want you to do is to follow the table. Okay, because it says here negative 4, negative 2. X is negative 4, y is negative 2. So you go to your graph. X is negative 4, y is negative 2. So that means it is this point. Okay? Then the second pair is negative 3 and 4. X is negative 3, y is 4. So it's up here. So I'd like you to plot all your points. Okay? Once you're done plotting all the points, I want you to raise your hand and I want to check it. I want to mark it. Okay? Before all of us can move on. Let me plot the points up. Okay, let me plot it. 1, negative 2 and 8. Negative 1 and 10. 0 and 10, 1 and 8, 2 and 4, 3 and negative 2. Okay, so this is how your thing looks like. Okay, now, how to use a curve ruler? Stop swinging your curve ruler. These are expensive things. Don't waste your parents' money. Good. Alright, now, pay attention. Okay, I'm not asking you to follow as I do. You pay attention to what I do first. Okay, first of all, look at the equation that we're given. It is y equals 10 minus x squared. What is the coefficient of x squared in this case? What is the number in front of x squared? What do you think? What is a? Our a is what? Negative 1. Okay? In front of x squared is actually a negative sign. It is actually negative 1. Okay? So, in this case, our coefficient of x squared equals to negative 1. Okay, for which, what kind of shape are we expecting? A happy face or sad face? Sad face, okay? So you must know what to expect. Otherwise you end up drawing wrong graphs. Okay? So with that knowledge, go into our graph paper. Do you see that all your points are actually going in a certain direction? It is in a set face direction. Okay? So, but then we know that when we have a set face, we are looking for a maximum point. Are we able to tell from the plotted points where is the highest? No, right? Because we don't have very clear indication, we don't have a plotted point that tells us that A is going to turn here. Correct? It only tells you that it is going in this direction. Right? For which over here, it needs to go up and then turn down. You understand what I'm saying? Okay? It goes up and then turn down. It cannot become a straight line connecting on. Okay? Because it is a smooth curve, it needs to be a set face shape. It cannot be go up, suddenly flat and then come down. No. It doesn't work that way. Okay? So you must be clear about the shape. And because we know that this is quadratic, it is going to be symmetrical. So right at the center, okay, it will divide the graph into two equal parts. So we notice that this point and this point, they are just side by side. This one and this one also side by side. Okay? So where can we find the line of symmetry? We will expect the line of symmetry to be right in the center. Okay? So we can use this kind of concepts to inform us how to perfect our graph. You don't anyhow randomly whack one graph in and connect the points. This is not your primary school or your kindergarten connect the dots game. Okay, dot that thing. Alright, so you must use some logical sense. So we expect it to be crossing in the center here. We expect that the highest point to be somewhere here. Okay, so you must have an expectation. You don't just use your ruler to anyhow connect. Okay, now coming to using the ruler, okay, your flexible curve. Right? We usually try to form the shape first. You do not, listen, you do not try to connect every single cross. Okay, I'm not sure whether can you see or not. Okay, so you see when I have my curve, right, my center, my highest point is where I expect my line of symmetry to end. Okay, so with that being settled, okay, can I borrow a pencil? Thank you. It's a lot. Okay, so then you will just connect, make sure the points connect. So you may want to feel that your curve ruler and your pencil tip actually touches. Okay, then you shift it and then you do that connection. Okay, then after you take out and you see. Right? You see that it connects very nicely. If it doesn't, you can erase that away. Okay? And then try it again. But that may mean that your plotted point gets erased also lah. Then you need to readjust it. Okay? So make sure that it passes through your plotted point. Right? So I think I have something better now. Thank you. Okay, so can you all try to achieve this U shape first? Okay, for this end shape. Okay, try to achieve this turning part. Okay. Let's go to the second part. Listen. Okay. Now that you have achieved this, you must know that your curve needs to be smooth. It needs to go like that. Okay? It is not possible that you draw it in this manner. Okay? While it seems like it is similar, set face, but this one like a cloud, okay, or a bitter gourd, I don't know. Okay? It is not lumpy. Right? Neither should your curve, okay, look like there's a lump here and then after that everything else like that. No. Okay? It's not supposed to be this way also. So it needs to be smoothly connected like that. Okay? But then, how do we do it using our curve ruler? Okay? So we do it 3 points at a time. We try to do 3 points at a time. So from here, you should have some sensing that it comes downwards and then here. So adjust your curve ruler. Alright? Let me try to adjust it up. Okay? You see that I am adjusting my curve ruler such that it connects smoothly. Don't just focus on this point, make sure it connects to the line that you have drawn. Okay? So try to do that smooth connection. Alright? So, let me just go straight into using a marker. Okay, so you see it connects smoothly like that. You see? We also do the same for the other side. So once you have achieved for one side, remember it is symmetrical. What can you do? Flip to the other side. Okay, fast, please pay attention. Okay, once you achieve for this side already, turn your curve ruler to the other side. Then it is an easy way out. Okay, you just connect it through. That's the magic because it is symmetrical. If you draw correctly for this side, you should draw correctly for the other side by turning your curve ruler. You don't need to really try to connect. Okay. How I hold my curve ruler down. I'm a right-hander, so I will use my left hand to hold the curve ruler down firmly. Spread out your fingers. Okay, and then connect it like that. Right? And then for the tail end, okay, you just have to take these remaining 3 points. Okay, so I connected this one and this one, although it is already connected. I just have to connect the remaining segment. You should not be using a straight line ruler to draw because it is not a straight line. So on your graph itself, you need to look for x equals to negative 1.4. Okay, so x equals negative 1.4 will be around here, 4 boxes to the left of negative 1. Okay, because one small square is 0.1 in this particular scale. Okay, use your ruler to help yourself in terms of reading upwards to the graph, okay, to the curve. And if you need to, you may indicate dotted lines, but it's not necessary. Okay, you don't have to say that it's negative 1.4, so long as you read correctly. Read upwards. Okay, look at this point here. Go to the right for the axis. Okay, and tell me what is it that you read over here. So at the back of your graph paper, indicate your value of y. So this is part C. In this particular case, I got a value of 9.4. Your answer, your friend's answer may not be the same because you may have drawn your graph slightly differently. There are acceptable values. Okay, I will accept if your answer is 9.3, 9.4 or 9.5. If your answer is neither one of these, it is not correct. Okay, so please check. Okay, can we move on to part 2? See part 2, it says find the values of x when y equals to 6.2. So y equals to 6.2, 6 is over here, 6.2 is one small square above it. Okay, then after that you read, okay, both to the left and to the right, because there are 2 points on this curve that has a y equals to 6.2. Right, I'm using the whiteboard to help myself instead of drawing directly. So read down and read down. Okay, determine what is your value in your own graph. There will be 2 values, so we write that x equals to, okay, in my own I had gotten negative 2.45 or x equals to 1.5. Both must be present. Okay, 2 values must be present. There are acceptable values. I will accept negative 2.55, negative 2.5, and 2.45. For this, I will accept 1.45, 1.5, and 1.55. Because we are humans, we cannot achieve an exact symmetry. And the symmetry is not at the y-axis. So clearly it's not one negative and one positive. Yeah. The symmetry is not here. The symmetry is here. So it cannot be one side negative 2.45, the other one 2.45. Okay, yes, please. No. Okay. Anyone not able to get any of these acceptable values? Be able to get? Okay. Next, we look at part 3. Part 3 wants us to find the maximum value of y and the value of x at which this occurs. First of all, the values that you give over here must match your graph. Because as a marker, when I mark, If the thing that I read over here is different from what you have written, okay, no marks will be given, even if it is within the acceptable range. So for example, you give me 9.3, but your graph says 9.4, no mark. Okay, so it must be correct with your graph. Right? Likewise, down here, you wrote for me negative 2.5. It is one of the acceptable values. But if your graph tells me negative 2.45 or negative 2.4, say no marks. Okay, so I want to be clear about that. Right? Then in part 3, do we understand the question? Okay, make sure you understand the question. We want to find what? Find the maximum value of y. Okay, and also the value of x for which this maximum value of y occurs. So what the question is asking for is that this highest point is the maximum point. Okay, and it is the highest your y value can go. Any other point, the y value that you get is lesser than what you can achieve for this point. So we're looking for this particular turning point, okay, or the maximum point. So for this point here, if you read your graph, find out what is the value of y that you get, and also what is the corresponding value of x. Because just now earlier on, we already agreed that this point must be right in the center. So we should know that our x value will be negative 0.5. Okay, because it is right in the center of 0 and 1. Negative 0.5. Okay, then your y